The largest encirclement. Since 2022, the Russian army cuts off a key supply route for the Ukrainian armed forces. Good afternoon, dear friends. As always, we continue to analyze the frontline situation on a daily basis. And today I don't really feel like commenting on statements from European politicians, because what is there to comment on? The Danish Prime Minister, for example, says that peace in Ukraine is far more dangerous than the current war. What can be said about that? They do not want peace, so nothing will end in the coming months. The war will continue, the fighting will go on, and we will continue our daily analysis. Let's take a look at the frontline situation, so let's open the map. Today has been eventful. The Russian army has achieved significant success on several fronts. In the Kursk region, 3 villages were taken under control. Another village was captured in the Velika Novosilka district. A breakthrough also occurred in the Kherson region. We'll discuss everything in detail. The Ukrainian armed forces, by the way, also had some success on one sector. Those who have been following me for a while know that I always tell the truth. Because lies, well, you know where they lead. Many soldiers have lost their lives because of lies. So let's go step by step. We'll start with the south, move north, and finish with the situation in the Kursk region. Russian army breakthrough in the Kherson region. In my last update, I showed video footage of how this operation unfolded, how the vehicle moved, how the airborne troops were deployed, and where they went next. It was an impressive video. So what happened here? The breakthrough was launched from the town of Oleshki in the Kherson region, advancing toward the settlement of Dachi. Dachi is a small village located right on the riverbank, just before the Antonovsky Bridge. A vehicle carrying airborne troops set out from Oleshki, crossed the Konka River via a bridge, and continued toward Dachi. The troops disembarked, and the armored vehicle returned to the city. The airborne troops then secured their position on the westernmost Daka, near the entrance to the destroyed Antonovsky Bridge. The total distance of this breakthrough exceeded 3 kilometers, which is quite remarkable, given that such advances have not been seen in the Kherson region since 2022. The overall goal of this operation is to establish control over this village in order to deploy artillery there and exert pressure on Ukrainian armed forces positions in Antonivka itself. However, airborne troops alone cannot accomplish this mission, so additional reinforcements are expected. That covers the key developments in the Kherson region. Let's move on. Ukrainian counterattack on the Pokrovsk front. Another important event is the counterattack by Ukrainian forces in the Pokrovsk direction. As you know, both the Ukrainian and Russian armies have a significant presence in this area, and attacks from both sides are constant. Recently, Ukrainian forces made gains in the settlement of Peshanoy, though these gains were short-lived. Now they have assembled a strike group and conducted a limited but painful operation against Russian forces, which ended in success for Ukraine. Just a week ago, Russian troops took control of the village of Uspanovka after prolonged and intense battles. However, Ukrainian forces managed to gather a strike force and launched an assault yesterday, supported by their air force. As a result, the Russian garrison in Uspanovka was forced to retreat toward Novaya Vasilyevka, and now Uspanovka is back under Ukrainian control. What can be said? This is war. Soldiers fight, get wounded, and some do not survive. Developments in the Velika Novosilka area. Before discussing the major success of the Russian army in the Kursk region, let's briefly revisit developments near Velika Novosilka. Yesterday, we analyzed this situation in detail, but even within 24 hours, significant changes occurred. As I mentioned before, a Ukrainian unit stationed at 3 fortified positions south of Skudno chose not to risk encirclement or a fire trap and quietly withdrew. This allowed the Russian army to capture 5 square kilometers of territory in a single strike, along with fortifications south of the village and the southern part of Skudno itself. However, as I noted yesterday, the village is small, with only 3 streets, and the remaining Ukrainian garrison there could not hold out for long after their comrades retreated. And that's exactly what happened. By midday yesterday, reports confirmed that Russian forces launched another assault, advancing to the western outskirts of the village. Ukrainian troops did not put up a determined defense, and instead withdrew to the settlement of Vesyoloye. Thus, within just 24 hours, Skudno came under full Russian control. Moreover, Russian forces managed to push beyond the village and are now just 1.5 kilometers from Vesyoloye. This creates a serious problem for Ukrainian troops because further Russian advances could cut off the only retreat route for the Ukrainian garrison in Bogatyr. Now moving to the Kursk region. As I mentioned earlier, the Russian army achieved a major success in the Kursk region yesterday, liberating 3 villages at once, something that hasn't happened there for a long time. So what exactly happened? The focus is on the northern section of the front line in the Kursk region. If you see areas on the map that are not fully updated, don't worry. It's a Ukrainian map, and they usually update it only after a couple of days. However, yesterday, footage surfaced confirming Russian control over the village of Pogrebki. There was video showing the Russian flag and soldiers in the village, leaving no doubt it is now under Russian control. The battle was fierce, I would even say extremely tough, as fighting for the village lasted several months. Of course, it doesn't compare to Bilohorivka, where battles have been ongoing for 2.5 years, but still Pogrebki saw some of the most intense clashes. Now, however, the battle is over. But the Russian army didn't stop at Pogrebki. They pushed further south and immediately captured the next village, Orlovka. Orlovka is much smaller than Pogrebki, consisting essentially of just one street, more precisely, a road lined with houses on both sides. Nevertheless, this is a significant event because the pocket previously controlled by the Ukrainian armed forces has now begun to shrink noticeably. As of now, the AFU no longer controls Pogrebki or Orlovka, and fighting is ongoing for Novaya Sorochina. In terms of territorial gains, Russian forces secured 3 square kilometers along with these villages. However, the Kursk region saw additional developments yesterday. The AFU continues to struggle on the western flank of the Kursk front, while Russian forces are making further advances. One key area of success was the village of Lebedevka. Yesterday, AFU positions there were subjected to a massive artillery barrage from multiple launch rocket systems, MLRS. Following this, Russian infantry entered the remaining AFU-controlled part of the village. By 8 p.m. Moscow time, reports indicated that Russian forces were conducting a mop-up operation. Most AFU troops had retreated. By this time, Russian troops were already present, not only in the southern part of the village, but also in the central and northern areas. The remaining AFU soldiers had taken refuge in basements on the outskirts. Additionally, Russian forces advanced from Sverdlikovo along the road to Sudzha, pushing 2 kilometers forward. In total, Russian forces secured approximately 5 square kilometers in this sector yesterday. When combined with gains elsewhere, the total amount of land taken under Russian control in the Kursk region yesterday is around 8 square kilometers. Summary: due to supply issues, mainly caused by the fact that the road from Yunukovka is now under heavy drone fire and more, the Ukrainian armed forces are experiencing growing logistical problems. These issues have become increasingly evident over the past week. And things will only get worse. Worse for the AFU, that is. For the residents of the Kursk region, these developments are very encouraging. Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction. Clashes in Kotlino, Peshanoe, and near Shevchenko. Fierce fighting continues in the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd sector, particularly around Kotlino and Peshanoe, where both sides are holding their positions. Battles are also ongoing near Shevchenko. Detailed overview. SAG's Ukrainian forces have intensified drone strikes on Kotlino. Despite this, Russian troops have maintained control, regaining part of the settlement and several forested areas to the east. Sakhanan in Peshanoe, heavy urban fighting continues. Ukrainian units are attacking from the direction of Zverovo, leading to intense clashes in residential areas. However, Russian forces still control the industrial zone and claim advances within the settlement. Ligor near Shevchenko, Russian forces have expanded their control, capturing one of the forest belts north of the village, as confirmed by surveillance footage. Both sides are actively fortifying their positions. Ukrainian forces are constructing defensive lines using remnants of a dismantled railway and adjacent forest belts. Meanwhile, significant Ukrainian reinforcements are being moved to Pokrovsk and Mirnograd to prevent a possible encirclement of the area, as frontal assaults here seem increasingly unlikely. That's all for today regarding the frontline situation. Wishing you all a productive day, take care of yourselves, and of course, we'll meet again tomorrow.